There is BIM and then there is AI now. There's generative AI, which is, giving concept designs, architectural designs, and creating BOQs, construction schedules, and, what have you. So, from the point of view of a fresh graduate or somebody who is just, learning the ropes of the business, what would you kind of suggest that they should learn BIM, or they should also look at AI in construction? And sort of which part of the AEC job market is at risk and where is the opportunity? Hello and welcome to CQRA Podcast to all our viewers. CQRA, as you know, is one of India's leading companies for construction quality, safety, and QS audits. And CQRA Podcast is where you meet leaders from the AEC industry who have a wealth of experience to share. And our aim at CQRA Podcast is to harness this experience for the benefit of all our viewers so that, you can, glean and take away so many insights from what they have to share. I'm your host, Architect Shruti Hussain, and today we are going to talk about something really pertinent and a subject that really needs some discussion when it comes to, sort of the Indian conditions. We are going to talk about building information modeling, or BIM technology, or BIM technology, and to help us understand the various facets of BIM for professionals to thrive in the global AEC sector, we have our guest, Mr. Roy Entered. Mr. Roy, welcome to CQRA Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Great. Just a little bit about Mr. Roy. He's the co-founder and chairman of TechnoStruct LLC, which is a BIM consultancy, which is based in California and Gurgaon, and TechnoStruct Academy, which is into BIM education. So, Mr. Roy, it's wonderful that you have a firm and you have an education academy into BIM. And I want to just get into this conversation directly and ask you that you started your career in the industry in the inside, and before making a move into education, you worked at Neilsoft in Pune, am I right? And that's where we are also based right now, and in Tech Americas, and you worked in international projects. And this is where you firsthand saw the gap between BIM theory and application. And this apparently sparked the idea of TechnoStruct LLC, which is a BIM and virtual design and construction firm. And then you founded your academy, and your motto is, creating careers in BIM. So I want to ask you, right away, can you tell us more about what you saw on site when working on projects in the US and in India, in the AEC sector, and what made you realize that there is a problem that needs solving?
So it's about a 2-decade-long career in this industry, slightly more overall.
Right.
And during all of this time working on projects, sometimes in India, but mostly in US, doing projects for US Corps of Engineers, Silicon Valley tech campuses, etc. So the challenge always was the gap between creating theorists and creating practical engineers and architects. And when I say practical, I mean who look at the constructability of a project, because that's important. Getting the simple things correct. Now, the academy wasn't supposed to be a business. So when we entered the India market, we have offices across US. Our production hubs were in US. Because of a skill gap in the US, it's very difficult to get hold of engineers and architects, especially where we are in California. So we opened our office in Mexico, but then we needed to increase our staff strength, and which better place than India, because I am an Indian, right? And the challenge was, again, There were two challenges. One, you can't hire freshers because the gap between what they think happens at site and what actually happens at site are very different. And the second was, unlike a lot of Indian projects, uh, in projects across US and Europe and Australia, there is no margin for error, and our insurance gets pulled.
Right.
So, uh,
Getting people to understand that was posing to be very difficult. So we started our academy with the idea that if people are paying for their skill enhancement, they will work hard towards enhancing their skills because there's something at stake, rather than hiring them and paying them. Yeah, so from a hiring platform, what changed was a lot of our clients from US and UK who were operating in India, like AECOM, Atkins, and the likes, they started asking where you're getting your people from, because that's a major challenge in India. Because a lot of the stuff out there are, I know Revit, hence I know BIM, or I know Bentley, hence I know BIM. That's not the case. It's a technology and nothing to do with software. Software is very, very easy. So they started hiring from our academy, and just through word of mouth, it sort of exploded.
Okay.
And 2019 we went online because we were getting inquiries from outside India as well, and we wanted our you know our staff from. We went online in 2020. COVID happened, and we were the only people online. So
Okay.
we had first mover advantage, and then we realized as entrepreneurs that this is now starting to make money, or at least it's not a. Before that, it was just our investment in creating manpower. Then it sort of evened out, and that's how the academy started, and that's how it evolved into where we are right now. It was, and it's still not supposed to be, and that's why we have not gone for funding, because we want to keep education as education and not become an edtech firm.
See, okay. But that's an interesting sort of model that you developed where, you trained people and then they kind of became your own employees. So they had a lot at stake. They had their own skills at stake. So that kind of translates into a very robust workforce, I think. So, going on from that, I want to ask you that the AEC industry globally is seeing a lot of digital transition in, with model-based estimations and BIM adoption across the board. So how ready are Indian firms, for this kind of transition and this transformation? And where do you see the bottleneck is in India, since, you are also dealing with Indian clients and Indian workforce?
See, it's not at the same pace, unfortunately, and it's moving fast. We're building massive infrastructure, but core conventional engineering degrees are no longer, to borrow an American slang, cutting it. And the technical demands and the technological demands of finishing these mega projects on time and doing them correctly, so that there is a digital double which can be used
Yeah.
for operations management. That's the biggest bottleneck. And the second, to add to that, is the demand for talent is booming, but the supply is lagging. And that's lacking because the specialized methodology driven courses that are quietly reshaping engineering interoperability aren't the standard in the traditional university curriculum yet. And it's not the universities, I'm not going to sit here and blame the universities. It's just not possible for nearly 90% of the universities out there. And that's because this is not pure education, this is skill.
Okay.
This is a different, it's a technology driven skill. Now, it is about doing a project virtually, a simulation of a project, and then going to site after solving the deficiency issues and also maybe enhancing it with certain efficiency additions. Now that can be taught by people who are doing those projects, who are actively involved in projects. Now at a university level, for a university to be actively also be involved in projects is difficult, right? That dichotomy will exist.
Understood.
And two internships between 4 years doesn't really make that big a dent in a student's understanding of you can teach them software, you can teach them what BIM stands for, but actual information management, that's different. BIM is not about buildings, it's about you are building a model based on information. It has nothing to do with buildings. Building is a verb. So, and if you're teaching something which is ever evolving and you're not actively doing that, then there will be a gap. So the universities aren't to be blamed. It's just that they need to understand that this is what's required, and maybe collaborate with external academies like ours or the corporate world. We are both. And
Right.
because we are creating the demand. If you collaborate up with us, firms like us, or there are thousands out there, then it will change.
Okay. Yeah, since you brought this up about the Indian academia and how there is, it's probably not always possible for academia to kind of, have live projects where students can learn. That's one aspect of it. But, how is the adoption on ground? I think it is uneven, even in the Indian sort of industrial sector. And why do you think that, institutionalized BIM education has kind of struggled to keep pace with industry adoption? And like you said, that there needs to be more industry and academia collaboration. So can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that? How is that going to help kind of making BIM mainstream, and so that young graduates can be skilled in that, and they don't have to again put their resources somewhere else to kind of upskill themselves?
See, I don't have all the answers. It's an exploration. There is going to be a trial and error somewhere, and that's called experience. You make mistakes, learn from them, and don't repeat them. And the challenge is the institutionalized education system struggles because it often treats BIM or VDC as just another software. Okay, it's like teaching Revit or Navisworks as isolated tools. But the industry needs professionals who understand the methodology, like ISO 19650, Open BIM. You can't teach that in a theoretical vacuum. No? So deep industry academia collaboration isn't just nice to have. We should look at it as something which is mandatory. Students need exposure to actual project life cycle data management, not just commands on a screen. Building information modeling, and again keep on saying, we still call it like a BIM manager, a BIM modeler.
Yeah.
And that's really passe. If you look at ISO now, ISO 19650, it's information management. If you go to the, say for example, UK or other parts of Europe, they are not BIM managers, they're information managers. Okay, so we're talking about information of a project. Okay, and which needs to be, a golden thread needs to be maintained. And if I as a student have not really gone through a project life cycle of schematics to planning to development to tendering to good for construction to documentation to handover to operations management, if I've not seen that, if I've not been exposed to that, I am not going to be able to visualize. The bigger challenge is that even for a very good architect, when you're actually doing a BIM, you're just doing it for creating a model, creating drawings. And that's what it's being taught, because that's what it serves, the primary purpose. But that drawing will actually be used to create something, build something, the constructability aspect. So that is, if that sort of mentality shift happens, and not just treat software training in vacuum, it will change. And it is changing. It's not that it's not happening, it's happening rapidly. You can look at some of the IITs, there are the construction management master's programs, they are teaching BIM. There's still a gap. I've interviewed these students, I've interacted with the students, but at least the foundation is happening. There's some initiative which is being taken. Okay, you can't put them on actual projects, but after 6 months they will be assets. So something is so much better than nothing, right?
Right. And it's interesting that you point out that BIM is not a software, just another software that you need to kind of, get skilled in and, put it on your resume. It's actually a system. It's an information system that needs to be kind of understood. And that's also interesting that you said the building information modeling. So the building is not a physical building, it's a verb. So the information turn that everything has taken right now, with sort of computer technology taking over everything, so that information word kind of really becomes important in that sense. So that's something really kind of noteworthy. And since you talked about civil engineering or IITs and the education there, we're seeing a sort of return to the basic engineering fields, so like mechanical, civil engineering, and electrical, telecommunications over computer software. So that's one thing that is, kind of really like an encouraging development for the AEC sector, that we will have more engineers coming out. And also in light of the kind of building activity that is happening in India in terms of, infrastructure projects, roads, highways, metro rails, bridges, commercial and residential building activity. I feel there is a need for, technology to catch up. And is this kind of construction boom translating into a BIM talent boom? Is there a real need in the market? Are we, as an Indian AEC market, kind of getting there in terms of, international standards and making digital twins, making safe buildings, making quality buildings using technology? Or is it still a lot of manual work?
You have to understand the constraint. Our biggest strengths are also our worst weaknesses. And especially in a country like India, we have a lot of labor. Okay. And let's talk about construction. So and that's cheap comparatively. True. So if we have a problem, we can always throw labor at it, manpower at it, and get it solved. That's very easy, and that's what we have been doing. And Niti Aayog has sort of been instrumental in publishing papers and finding out the actual savings in BIM, etc. And a lot of government projects, some of which we are involved in ourselves, are pushing for BIM. I really cannot comment on the actual delivery of it, but the initiatives are there. And some of them have achieved remarkable results in terms of technology. But I think the catalyst has been COVID. Something good comes out of a really, really, really bad time, the worst of times after 2008 slowdown or the global recession. I mean, even COVID was even worse. I'm talking from an economic perspective, not a human perspective. And But what happened is, at that time, because of the reverse migration of the labor industry, they went back to their hometowns. There was the need of, you have to finish projects still. So what you do, you embrace technology. Why do you think countries like US, Australia, Scandinavian countries, they are ahead of us in terms of technology usage in construction? It's not because they are better than us. It's because our engineers are really very good. It's because there is a lack of the manpower, the labor is expensive. So they have to invest in technology. And that is our constraint. That is our strength and our constraint. And so with COVID pushing for greater technology usage, as simple as, even if I forget BIM for a second, people on site managers, engineers with 30, 40 years of experience, they were forced to use, conferencing tools, video conferencing tools. So once you get into the habit of doing that, then you can actually get them into the habit of looking at their iPads or handheld devices and open the model and see how it's actually supposed to look like. So we're helping them visualize it better. And it's happened. I'll give you an example with Terminal 1 expansion of New Delhi International Airport, Indira Gandhi International Airport. We were brought in by one of the firms involved, and one of the major things that we wanted to achieve, and we were able to, was to actually work with the site engineers, the really, really strong people who can look at a drawing and tell you this will not work, and get them to start looking at the Navisworks models and etc. on their phones or their laptops. And by the end of it, they were actually saying next project needs to be on BIM.
Okay.
So it's not any kudos to us. It's that it is a slow process. Unless I see ROI, I will not invest. So and if you're talking about the manpower, and what happens is people shift organizations and they say, okay, last project was on BIM, it made sense. Okay, so that's a push. And now if you look at in Pune, most of the bigger developers in Pune, we have an office in Pune, by the way. So I know most of we have 3 in India, Calcutta, Gurgaon and Pune. And so most of the big developers in Maharashtra are on BIM. And some of them are doing incredibly good projects where through the entirety of a project construction cycle, there were 0 email exchanges between consultants.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, everything's on the cloud. So it's just, there's so much of good work happening in India, and somehow we don't talk about it. We feel, if we talk about the deficiencies, it feels good. No, we're doing amazing work. And what happens is, when you're doing amazing work, if I am a 5-year experienced engineer, let's say, and I have a younger brother, I will actually really encourage him to go and understand BIM, work with BIM, learn BIM, okay, get live project experience, because I would understand that this is not the future, this is the present. It's not that people have slowly realized that if I do BIM, I might get a better job. Today, if I don't do work in BIM, I might not have a career. So that shift is happening. It will take time. I've seen the same thing happen in the US, in the UK, in Australia in the last 20 years. So nothing wrong with India. It's just we are at that point in the cycle where we are just nearing the tipping point. Okay, I think by 2028 we will not need to have these conversations anymore.
Okay, that's encouraging. to know that. There is BIM and then there is AI now. There's generative AI, which is, giving concept designs, architectural designs, and creating BOQs, construction schedules, and, what have you. So, from the point of view of a fresh graduate or somebody who is just, learning the ropes of the business, what would you kind of suggest that they should learn BIM, or they should also look at AI in construction? And sort of which part of the AEC job market is at risk and where is the opportunity?
See, you've already answered half of the question. Uh, you know, basic drafting, manual clash detection, bill of quantities, these are at high risk. Okay. Routine, repetitive tasks will inevitably become automated. Uh, and the massive opportunity lies in the what I call the human in the loop. Okay. Fresh graduates who position themselves to manage agentic AI workflows, validate autonomous coordination and act as strategic data managers. Again, data managers, data, I keep on harping on that word, will be really sought after professionals in the market. We've seen the same thing with in digital marketing, right? I'm not very exposed, but from what I have read and what I've seen in my own organization, there was a lot of organizations who were letting go of people who were doing graphic design, etc., saying we can get it done through AI, through some GPT, and they have soon realized that no, we need people who will work with AI tools, and we need those visualizers back. And same with creative writing. So it's not mutually exclusive. BIM, AI, engineering, you see, we're talking about AI, but there's a big market out there with or without AI on automation.
Right, yeah.
What is AI doing? It's doing the same thing. It's doing automation a little better, faster. Uh, so I don't see a massive shift with the advent of AI, other than doing repetitive tasks. And we were already using other tools like Dynamo Studio, etc., to manage repetitive tasks. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah. I'll take the conversation now from BIM and AI to BIM and construction audits. So BIM offers like a single digital map of the building, and therefore like an error-free baseline to compare the physical site with. So I want to know, what are the key ways in which BIM can really enable or improve quality audits and safety audits in construction? And, like audits tend to be usually kind of after a certain task is done, or sometimes depending on the client at various key stages. So how can BIM kind of enable, effective audits?
What is a BIM process? It's about taking information, maybe design information, uh, sustainability information, or any information that is related to the project, including data, quantity, cost, etc., and creating a digital double of the potential construction project. Right now, so the audits which are supposed to happen on site, if we simulate that when we are actually creating a BIM model or created portions of the BIM model, then we already would have an understanding of what issues there potentially might be.
Okay.
And finding out the deficiencies, and I'm not talking about clash detection, etc. Okay? So and once we find out the deficiency, then we can actually sort them out, and so that when they actually happen on site, the chances of them the audits going correct would be high. Now let's get to the actual audit when something is done, and if you want to look at the safety audit. and then you can compare if something has gone wrong, because you can simulate and you have done all the checks and put in all the checks and balances for it to go right. And if still there's a problem that we have seen, like there's a bend in certain beams, then we actually, or there's some error somewhere, we actually can go back to the model and see if this was a design issue, if this was a modeling issue, or if this was a construction issue. Okay, and we actually know the stakeholder who has made the change or the variation from what was proposed to what actually is, so that there is no blame game. You were at fault, I was at fault, and then get them to take ownership of the problem and make sure that it doesn't happen with any other aspect of it. So it is easier to identify. And it's amazing that you brought this up, because there are a lot of general contractors, the biggest of them all, of them, they actually do modeling of steel, especially steel meaning including rebar, not because they want the project to do well, because the client, the developer is already doing the steel model. General contractors are doing the steel modeling to make sure that their variation order, the change orders, are justified and it is smoother. So there is no ambiguity. So they're spending crores of rupees in modeling steel so that their variation change orders can go through smoothly. So, if you're auditing a building in BIM is actually you're constructing, right? From earthwork to finishes, you're actually constructing.
Yes.
So you are actually doing that, and you're doing the audit as you go. And so there should not be, unless someone has messed it up, there should not be a problem in the actual audit. And if there is, I've already explained to you to how we can very quickly understand where it went wrong.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting point you make. In fact, also about contractors already using BIM for change orders and understanding their variations, because that becomes quite a critical point later on when you're doing your quantity surveying, billing, and there are bound to be variations, and clients do come back to auditing companies and say that I think our contractor is not done right, so we need these bills audited and checked. So that's where I think BIM will probably see a lot of implementation going ahead. Right now, I'm not sure if this is kind of being done on a larger scale, but yeah, there is definitely potential. And yeah, that was a good point. I want to also ask you about using BIM in terms of sustainable construction practices. And this is like a contractual requirement for now international projects, even large projects in the country. Looking at embodied carbon or energy modeling, life cycle analysis. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So what BIM does is it takes sustainability from a guessing game to a computable, checkable metric. Okay. Through 5D and 6D integrations, we can perform highly accurate energy modeling and track material life cycles before ground is even broken. Okay. This data-driven approach is, for me, the only way to reliably meet stringent international or domestic sustainability contracts and avoid massive cost overruns. Because from a simple daylight analysis to
Okay.
facade material analysis, lighting to heating and cooling load, we can manage that. Give you an example. in India, most in most buildings, I'm not talking about residential, would have a would be, when we're designing that, the HVAC, we would design for a much higher load than it is required. Any engineer does that. Okay, any mechanical engineer, and it's not because they're being overtly cautious. They are coming from an experience where they have seen that the number of twists, the turns that a duct will end up taking versus what they actually would have designed for would decrease the CFM to a level where the corner office will not get cooling.
Okay, I see.
Okay. And that is because of something as simple as clash detection. And because in India we don't, whenever we are issuing after the DBR, design basis report, what we get normally is just SLD, single line diagrams, okay, and without any levels from any of the services. And by the time we are coordinating services on drawings, sites would already have people and material, okay, and nobody's going to wait. So we will figure it out on the way. That's the policy.
Right.
And so if there's
a beam in the path of a duct, we'll just,
give a double bend.
Yeah, go around it.
Go around it. And again, you've got a loss in CFM. So that's why they do it. But if you're doing BIM, and I'm talking about the basic, simplest level of BIM where it is clash detection, you already would know that this is going to happen. So you actually reroute it in some way so that you don't have to add additional beds. So it is as simple as that. We can talk about other material usage and facade and building orientation, but something that is easier done because you got specialized architects, specialized contractors doing that. What happens with BIM is nobody is working standalone. Everybody is coordinating with each other. It's a live model. Especially now that BIM, nobody is doing models in isolation. Everything is on the cloud, whether it's Autodesk Construction Cloud, Forma, or whichever. It's on the cloud. So everybody's inputs going to that same model. Everybody's outputs are coming from that same model, which means nothing is happening in isolation.
Okay. That's, you've so established, during our conversation that BIM is something that is, addressing so many factors in terms of clash detection, in terms of quality, in terms of even sustainability, and making the right choices and the right decisions, right coordination for all the services to go smoothly towards a successful project. So kind of to wrap up this conversation, but also to kind of critically analyze where we stand in terms of, BIM technology and the industry, I want to ask you, what is sort of an uncomfortable truth about the state of BIM education and industry, especially in India, and that is not being discussed enough and that needs to be addressed? We need to put a finger on it so that we are globally competitive and competent.
So I'm going to answer this question as part of TechnoStruct and not TechnoStruct Academy. So the most uncomfortable truth to me is that the majority of the market is still treating BIM as a glorified 3D CAD tool.
Okay, glorified 3D CAD tool.
Yeah.
CADD. Okay. And so a lot of the so-called BIM training out there is just basic software training disguised as innovation. So we are mass producing operators who know where to click rather than strategic thinkers or engineers who understand true project life cycles, and that is a massive disservice to both the students and the industry. And it's normally, if you look at training in most scenarios, it's teaching a bunch of software, then giving them a practice project, a dummy project, a capstone, which actually means dummy, and to practice on. Now that can be done at the university level. Why go to an academy to do that, right? So we need to get away from the software background. We're talking about architects and engineers and not computer science graduates. Okay, we're not trying to create software engineers. We're trying to create civil engineers who are proficient in the technology. So many software have come and gone. Okay, but if you know the technology, you're good. Okay, it's about learning to drive a car and not learning to drive a specific car.
Yes.
So the ideal way is to actually go and get them through multiple projects. A simple part of a project, if that's their assignment, before that go and train them on any particular software or an array of software which might be required for them to get that assignment done. Then for the next assignment, maybe you move it to a much more intermediate level, then to an expert level. But the purpose of learning the software should be that they enabling them to do a particular project or an assignment or part of a project, and not the other way around. Because at the end of the day, as someone who has close to 200 people, engineers and architects, I am not going to hire potential anymore. Nobody is doing it. They are hiring people who can be used within 15 days as billable resources.
And
Right.
what is
Billable resources? Someone who can work on projects, and and that project output I can bring to a client. Right. So that's the uncomfortable truth, and I've also given you the solution.
Right. Yes. All right, Mr. Roy, that was a really insightful and informative session, something really like a burning issue that we need to, I think, tackle more seriously as an industry and also academics. Like you said, learn the technology, know the technology and not the software. That's a very important takeaway, I think, for all our viewers. And thanks very much for coming on CQRA Podcast, and we look forward to, some more conversations as, the industry advances. So thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me and asking really pertinent questions. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.